Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get spotted. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, today is probably going to be a zany day because we have a really huge options expiration coming up, and the market already was doing wild stuff yesterday. So who can say what it's going to do? I have in the title, NVDA call holders devastated. Well, there's a lot of people online that are upset about NVDA dropping so much yesterday, but that doesn't mean that they're going to drop today. I don't know what's going to happen today, so don't at me when they move up, all right? But either way, I think that today is going to be pretty wacky. So prepare yourselves. I think that I'm just going to try and have fun today. Didn't have the best night of sleep because the kids kept me up. But, I think that it's going to be an interesting day to watch. So let's do it. And let's come over and check. All right. So we do have soybeans rolling over. And so here we got the treasuries. All right. After a pretty heavy downturn yesterday on what I believe was hot numbers, it coming in, what was the report? I don't remember. The Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. I think that there was some concerns about the prices in there. So we saw a sell-off, but, pretty decent recovery. And now in the overnight, we have actually pushed a little bit higher in the treasuries. Here's the S&P 500. So, it was a pretty decent down day yesterday. Obviously, it only gets us to like 2 days ago. But it was really bad in NVDA. I can show you that later. Oil just continues to move up, and this is a really solid trend. This is a really, really solid trend. You think they could make it back up to 90 for perhaps? I don't know. That would start to cause a lot of other problems in the market, though, if we got that high, right? Okay, gold and silver kind of extending off of a good day they had yesterday. I'm sorry, a little message just popped up. Copper down. And the Japanese yen. Well, I thought with the treasuries moving up that maybe the yen would see some sort of a reprieve. No, it's still down in the doldrums, and I think that there's some real concerns here now because it is lower than we were where there was intervention before. So that's pretty bummed. All of that money they spent on intervention doesn't look like it helped one bit. Bitcoin still kind of struggling this week. Pretty interesting downtrend. You notice this week, much more consistent downtrend, right? Whereas everywhere else is kind of all over the place. So that is really interesting to me. All right. Good morning, Alan, Octavius, A. Paul, Uzi, all of the early birds. Man, so I was getting frustrated with my facial hair, and I shaved it down. I think it's just the kind of like the jarring difference there, but like we're not early, you're late. Am I super late today? Well, it is 6:35. I didn't even pay attention to the time, man. Like, this was another one of those rare days where my wife works on a weekday. And so I had to put the kids to bed, which was fine, except for that Ethan took like a really late nap and didn't want to go to sleep. So I gave him my phone and, went to bed. So I think I was kind of like in and out for 2 hours. And then I woke up at like 12 o'clock And he was still up watching my phone. So I took it away from him. And he was upset for all of 15 seconds, and then he fell right asleep. But basically, I didn't get like into deep sleep until after midnight, which is very good. Which is not very good, rather. Another thing, we switched the camera out. So there's that. That's cool. It does look better. It's sharper. It's sharper. Did you see the latest video by? No, I didn't. I thought that he stopped making videos. Let's go look. That's worth checking out. He was had interesting stuff. Day in the life of a software engineer. Oh, he's like full on back apparently. Are you talking about this one? How I beat 99.5% of day traders in the market? No. Oh. How quants made billions using this cheese strategy and how the CME stopped them. Oh, that sounds interesting to me. It's a 15-minute video, though. I don't think... Interesting. So it sounds like they had found some sort of exploit in their protocol. Yeah, we'll watch it later. I cannot load the news squawk blog. What's with that? I can load it on my phone. Why does it work on my phone and not on desktop? See, this is how you know that I didn't sleep well last night, is that, you know, normally that's the first thing I do when I wake up, and I forgot. Oh. We have PMIs today. Oh, yes, we do. We have S&P PMIs. Okay, so the Japanese CPI was softer than expected, but they're still down, huh? Okay, but nothing too big. Man, my elbow was getting better. And then the other day, it was Wednesday, I guess, Ethan, one of my kids, decided to like jump on me, and I like caught him, and it really like hit my elbow bad, and it's like been bad ever since. A trader told me the secret is to make your strategy as mechanical as possible. Well, I think that if you have a mechanical strategy that works, then good for you, but like good luck on finding one. Good luck on finding one. Might have an easier time of it, though, if you're swing trading and not day trading. There are things about the intraday time frame that make mechanical strategy difficult. Wasn't always that way before the robots, but now hard to do well with mechanical strategy. Well, because on the intraday time frame, there's just a lot of noise. So if you're looking for some sort of behavior in the market, some technical setup that tends to happen before a large run-up or something of that nature, right? You're looking in the market data for these sorts of signs and signals, right? It's kind of like going to the ocean and watching the little ripples on the surface of the ocean and not seeing the giant tsunami coming towards you, right? There are things that happen on an intraday time period, like breaking news, economic releases, and even things that are really completely random and retail traders don't understand or see, like large institutions having to buy or sell a large portion of something merely to maintain their strategy requirements and like portfolio mix and so forth, right? And that sort of a thing, as far as we're concerned, because we have absolutely no insight into what their portfolio looks like right now and when they're going to need to rebalance. So to us, those flows are completely random, and those can move the market just as much as any of these other things, if not more. It's one of the most powerful forces in the market. To us, that's completely random, and that's not going to have any kind of correlation to any of these tiny little technical setups that you're seeing, right? So that's why I say it's like watching the ripples in the water and not seeing the tsunami that's coming for you. Most of the stuff that retail traders are going to tell you about trading and technical analysis in particular is going to come from things that they learned in books that were actually written for swing trading and not day trading. See, if you're swing trading and you're holding that asset for several months, if not years, okay, it's going to move way more during the time that you are holding it than it's going to move in one day on CPI, right? Like, you get a pretty big move on CPI, but it's nothing compared to like the whole move in something over the course of a whole year, right? Trending asset over a whole year. So on that kind of a time frame, those waves don't affect you, right? But when you're going to a day trading time period, the tiny little profits that you're going to make from these little ripples just get completely overwhelmed by things like the news. And so that's why it's incredibly difficult to find mechanical setups on intraday time periods. Now, the one caveat to that is if you go even shorter, and now you're getting into like second and sub-second time intervals, then there are mechanical strategies that reemerge. The problem is, on that one, is that the robots have completely dominated that area, and so unless you are like co-located and all of this sort of stuff, you don't stand a chance at that game. Can you make some assumptions when it comes to institutional allocation along the yield curve? Well, sure. I mean, there are a lot of things about institutional strategies that we have no chance of figuring out, and as far as we're concerned, they end up being random things about the market, right? But there's a lot of things about institutional strategies that we can know, and we can make predictions all based off of them. this whole thing with the gamma going on right now. So today is the largest options expiration we've ever had. And in particular, the amount of gamma that has to be hedged or that was being hedged is just absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And so you have all of these institutions out there that were market making. They had to go and buy the stock, and they had to buy more of the stock than usual because the gamma was so high. And that's part of why you get this sort of a thing. This is the second time, maybe even the third time in a row, I think they've done it, where like the Thursday before the options expiration, like the market just comes back big time. Yeah. And when it does, it comes really fast. And I would expect to see a decent amount of unclenching as they release all of those hedges on Monday. So that is something that we could predict. Now, can we make those predictions on the yield curve? I think so, but it's kind of hard. And usually, I think when they're doing these things along the yield curve, it either has to do with if they think that we're about to switch from raising interest rates to lowering interest rates and vice versa. Like what's going on right now is that the yield curve is steepening because they anticipate that the Federal Reserve will start cutting interest rates. Not necessarily that we'll go into a recession, but that they'll start cutting interest rates. And so the yield curve is steepening back out a little bit. That or happenings are happening where they are very concerned about the growth. And then you start to see steepening because they think a recession is coming, right? But then the other side of it is the Federal Reserve and these banks or these central banks around the world, they tell you what's going to happen. So right now, the Japanese central bank is kind of saying that they are not going to buy as many long-term treasuries, and they're going to start buying more bills and short-term treasuries instead. And so you're seeing that in the yield curve right now, and I think that was probably a factor behind why we had so much steepening yesterday in the yield curve. But what suitable time frame would you suggest this for if I were to implement a mechanical strat? So if you were to implement a mechanical day trading strategy, then you would probably want to get a co-located server, which you can get as a retail trader. I think it's Speedy Servers. I can't remember. They have like a Futures.io has like a partnership with them, but there's a data center co-located in Chicago that you can rent space out in, and you run your applications over there, and then you'll be really fast. And then I would be talking about any kind of sub 1 minute interval. Any kind of sub 1 minute interval where the signals that you're looking at are happening on second timeframes. And it would probably also need to involve some sort of order flow. You would have to be looking at the order flow to some extent, at least taking that in context. You'd probably also want to take correlated assets into account in your strategy too. But who knows what might be there. You might be able to find something. But I don't know. Is that really? It doesn't seem like very fertile ground for a retail trader to dig, right? I think that if you are a retail trader and you want to day trade, your options are either one, give up, don't day trade and become a swing trader, or B, do what we do and be an informed trader. That means you're watching the news, you know what's going on in the market, and you're making decisions based on that particular day and the flows that you anticipate seeing. And it's super, super hard, but it can be done. And there are periods where we know what's going on in the market and we understand the flows that are coming in and we're able to predict them. And when that happens, it's just like you win every time and you can do amazing. So hard to stay on top, but it can be done. Retail co-location isn't enough. The edge in strategies like dangling is being so fast that you can practically see in. Well, I don't think that you're going to be at the very front of the queue, right? I think that if you're co-located and you were like doing liquidity provision in the treasuries, I think that you could maybe, you know, get to like 1500th in line though. Like you'd be at the end of the algorithms. That might be enough with certain kinds of signals and stuff. Maybe. Kind of regretting shaving down as far as I did. I was like, oh, let's go back to the stubble. It's summertime now. No. It's too much. Too much. All of the contrast in my face is gone. I do like the bouquet on this new... I know, I thought that you would all notice immediately, but probably not, because it is just like the 50mm lens gives us pretty much the same view that we had before. It's just more blur in the background and brighter. It's brighter. Beard game for life. Well, you know what the problem that I tend to get with the beard is, like, it will get long enough that, like, for instance, the hairs right here, you know, if you push them back, they like really go far back, and then you're supposed to trim them, and I have a hard time seeing where the line around here should be, and especially like in the mirror trying to get exact, and then and that just drives me crazy. And so usually I get fed up with it, and then I shave it off, and this time I went too short and I regret it. What is the relationship between a BOS and I don't know what BOS stands for? I've never heard anybody use that acronym before. Is that, are you referring to like break of structure? Yeah, okay, so most of the stuff that you're gonna see from retail traders about like market structure, yeah, is that an ICT thing? Because then I would be doubly like, that's nonsense. So what happens? I'll show you here. But there actually is something to this. Okay. So the way that they kind of will describe break of structure per se is they'll be like, look, here was the swing high from before, and now we broke that swing high. So that's like breaking the structure. That's generally speaking what people are talking about. Okay. And I would say it's nonsense, because the whole thing is they're taking it from the technical analysis point of view. The technical analysis point of view, really at the heart of the technical analysis point of view is this. Humans are humans, and they will always be humans, and their behavior is somewhat predictable, and those patterns in human behavior is visible in the stock market, even on daily intraday timeframes. That's basically the whole premise behind most retail technical analysis. You could do the same. Now, you could say, I'm looking at, you know, I'm doing statistics and I'm doing math, and, you know, like, what's the difference between technical analysis and quantitative analysis, right? Well, in my opinion, technical analysis is the things that people tend to call technical analysis, and so that's why. Okay, but here's something that is true. The market tends to rest where supply and demand are at their minimum. So I have bids and offers, right? I have a 5K bid offer here. I have a 4K bid here. And then there's a 15K bid right here. And so what that means is, if we were to tick down, it would only take 1,500 contracts. Probably less than that. Okay, 1,600 contracts to tick down, and then only 471 to tick back up, right? So it's much more likely to tick up and down than it is to tick up through 25.5, simply because it will take more orders to do so, right? So what that means is that a price being cleared recently makes it easier to clear that price. You get this, so we can see like the resting liquidity, but you could, a lot of people, they'll hold their orders back. They're not going to submit them until it's like ready, right? Until they're about to be executed. So we call this latent liquidity. And you get this sort of a thing where if you were to draw the latent liquidity, there's not very much latent liquidity at the current price, but then there is more latent liquidity immediately around that, right? So you kind of get this hole, essentially. We call this a liquidity hole, where it's really easy to stay there. Really easy to stay there, and it's hard to get out of that hole. Like, they might even get out of it a tick or two and then slide back into the hole, okay? And this is because there's not a lot of latent liquidity in this area. They already traded. Now, this is a situation that can occur for about 45 minutes, and it can actually happen really quickly. Like, you can be in a strong trend just after news, and then all of a sudden one of these liquidity holes will form, and we're just stuck there. That's why treasuries can be so frustrating, because it's just like it's up, 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 and then as soon as you decide to get in, it stops and it goes nowhere for 40 minutes, right? Okay, that's a liquidity hole. But if there is a strong enough impulse and you get over that hump, right, then you're a little bit more free to move, right? And so this is, I think, what's responsible for this kind of quote-unquote break of structure phenomenon that a lot of retail traders talk about, is that, if I have a high and we're able to get 1 or 2 ticks above that high in the treasury, then you might get through that liquidity and then it kind of starts to run a little bit. Okay. So that is a thing. But, don't treat it like a technical analysis, because they will say, okay, so when there is a break of structure, then there's all of these rules that you do based off of it. And if you follow those rules and you backtest them, there's no edge in it. Okay. But there is an edge in understanding what the current liquidity conditions are. Because if I expect there to be a large meta order buyer today, and I know that those orders are coming, and we're like 1 or 2 ticks above that price level, now all of a sudden I'm really interested in joining at that point, because I know that there's a lot more volume coming after that, just based on my predictions for what the flows are going to be today. But I'm only able to do that because I know things outside of the exchange about how institutions and so forth are likely to be behaving in news and things that are driving flows that day, right? Most of these retail setups these days, they look for a break of the structure and then coming back into that area and bouncing in a certain area, and they take a bounce in that location. But I've backtested those. You'll go watch my video on smart money concepts, and I go into that and backtest it, essentially. Meanwhile, crude volumes hit greater than 70%. Algorithmic, what does that mean? I know, oil has definitely been on a tear lately. It's pretty quiet this morning, relatively speaking, but there we did have a spike a little bit earlier. Oh, I take that back. There was a spike just now, and it came back. You know what? I don't have my oil DOM set up correctly. Here it should be. Where are we at? We're at 08. So that should be Q, right? Let's see here. CL. Should be Q, right? Yep. I got it right. Hard remembering those CME codes, man. So you know what? It was something I wanted to talk about yesterday, and I totally got distracted. But there was a new study out by Jean-Philippe, and it's totally in our direction, man. It's totally in our direction. It was him and a bunch of other people. So I think that he was kind of more like an assistant on it and not like the lead person on it. But basically, what they did was they had an algorithm sitting and looking at all of the changes that you were seeing in the order flow. Like if a large order stacked or canceled, right? And it seemed to me that they were mostly looking at the changes in liquidity, okay? So they got a feed, they're creating their own DOM, and then when they see a change in the DOM that's over a certain amount, kind of like my market depth order tape, right? It will make a little click every time that there's a change over a certain amount, right? So they've got to filter that there's a change over a certain amount. And then they look at that change, and that change becomes like a word. They turn it into a word. That's like, there was a change of this much, this far away on the bid or the offer. And they turn that into a word or a token that they pass into a large language model. And then they use the large language model to look for patterns in these things. And they found that they found two kind of regimes of sorts. One was where you will see a change, like a large stack or a large pull or whatever on the bid. You will see a corresponding one on the offer. And the other regime change was like you'll see a stack on the bid and you'll see a pull on the offer. So these are like symmetrical and asymmetrical liquidity. I think they were doing this on an equity index. So I think that if they went into a more pure commodity, I think that they would probably find some of the other kind of modes that we suspect are there. Like that there's a time where the market will seem to go towards the liquidity and a time where the market will seem to go away from the liquidity, right? But the thing that excites me, well, so one thing is that they said that there are these modes. They could predict like 2 tokens out what the next mode was going to be. So they could make very short-term predictions based off of this, which suggests that what we're doing watching the DOM, that there is something to it. I think that it's like the first kind of like really empirical data that you have that like seeing patterns in the stacking and pulling and stuff could have some benefit, right? Because it's always I always kind of use it as tea leaves and conditions and stuff. And I'm relying more on my expectations of the order flow for that day, right? But now you have more empirical evidence that kind of the more qualitative sort of stuff that we do with the DOM has some merit. And it kind of provides a framework for us to do it ourselves and follow and turn some of the stuff that we do with the DOM into real mechanical strategies. So that's kind of exciting. Want to see what the pull stack column looks like with all those levels you have? Oh, yeah. Oh, because you don't get as many columns? Well, I don't know. The weird thing about it, Uzi, is that in terms of stacking and pulling, I don't really want to do it, but I guess I will. Where is it? Bid profile. Oh, it's the snapshot columns. There we go. The snapshot columns. And the snapshot depth, I think I could go out to like 16, for instance, right? And the snapshot filter, I will leave it at 0 for now. Okay, so you can see. So, what you're gonna see is that almost all of the changes happen on like the first 3 inside prices. And then when you go further out than that, you don't actually see a whole lot of big changes. Yeah. So there probably are going to be some minority situations where, like there's this big order at 5800 at 5800 at 18, and maybe after a large tick up or tick down, you see that move or disappear. If you go really, really far away, you will see these algorithms that are moving liquidity around really far away for some reason. But most of the changes happen on the inside. That's why I don't really use the snapshot column, because when I'm watching it, I can see those changes, and so the snapshot column is showing me something that I'm able to see on my own. It's not useful to me. But I mean, that's what the Jigsaw tools are so great at, right? Is they're able to help you see things in the order flow. Like if you have the depth of market and the volume profile, you can see how much is trading there. It's just that you have to like count it, you have to say, oh, okay, this changed by 10,000 or whatever the deal is. That's hard to keep track of. So the Jigsaw just makes it a little bit easier. And so there's the same thing. Some people have a hard time keeping track of the changes in the liquidity, and so they made a little tool to help you see it. But if you don't have that problem, then you don't need that particular tool, right? I spent 25 minutes on the phone with my ISP and I have no internet. That sucks. That reminds me of this story that was going everywhere yesterday, where they revealed that the the Biden administration had spent several billions of dollars, I think, trying to expand internet to rural areas, and the program hadn't resulted in a single person getting hooked up. What? It's crazy. This kind of makes me wonder about these things, like how much grift and freeloading out is really out there in the higher echelons of society. Like, I look at Hollywood, I look at the budget of some of these Hollywood productions, like the Acolyte for Star Wars. How did they spend so much on that show? Because the quality of it is just awful. It's not like there's any really great actors in it or anything like that. So where did all of the money go? People are making way better quality things on a much, much smaller budget. So where is it going? Is it money? Is it money laundering? Is it just, paying a lot of people a lot more than you really need to be paying them? And how much is that going on in Hollywood? How much is that going on in the government? I really wonder sometimes. It's interesting. When we first started having this discussion about the liquidity, I was talking about the latent liquidity. We were on the higher end of things, and I was like, oh, are we going to break out and push higher? But it didn't. It like almost immediately flipped around at that time and came down. That interesting. Well, we never went through our flows for the day. Oh, you know what? Also, I need to get the baby monitor. Hold on. tried to convince the kid to not sleep on his belly, but he loves sleeping on his belly. He looks ridiculous. Okay. Today.md. Okay, so we do have PMIs and what was that? Existing home sales. Okay, JPY inflation, lighter, but no bounce in yen. Yen at new lows. Let's say yen below previous intervention levels. Huge gamma expiration today. So given the gamma expiration, I think that we could see a relatively large move, and if we were going to see a large move, it would probably be to the downside, because that's kind of what they've been trading lately in the treasuries. But not enough for me to want to take a trade. Plus, I'm probably not in a good state to trade. Too tired. And my arm really does hurt. You know what? Yesterday, another thing was that I took some ibuprofen to try and make the inflammation subside a little bit, and I felt like it made it worse. My ISP was hacked with a big data breach and 3 class action lawsuits over it now. Wow, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy. By the way, oh wait, I think he's just crying in his sleep. But he's on. That's funny that as soon as I'm prompted to go and get the thing, that he starts crying. I'm gonna go and get the kid. But before I go, I was gonna ask Uzi, did you use the newer version of the market order imbalance? So I'd kind of forgotten about that, but I think that we ironed out all the problems, and that we might be able to update it and give people the updated one. But I'm gonna work more on it next week, so I'll be right back. Good grief. You forgot about it too. You know what? I've realized that now that I've been doing our notes and stuff like that, is that we'll be like totally hyper focused on something for a week, and then the weekend will happen and we get back to Monday and we completely forget what we were doing the week before. But yeah. But the version, the testing that I had done on it looked pretty good. And so, and my, like, switching things over in classes. So there had been this issue before where if you wanted to make a class, the class would show up and it was something that you could add. And what if you didn't want that base indicator to be something that you could add to the chart, right? And so I was kind of like avoiding doing class-based stuff in NinjaTrader because of that. But I found a little bit of a hack to get around all of that and everything. And I used it on that indicator. And now that I've gotten it to work on that indicator, I want to turn around and use it on all of the other ones. And kind of give them a couple of the little bit more enhanced caching that we ended up having to make for the market order imbalance. So that might be one thing that I'll do. That one's probably pretty low on the priority list because it shouldn't change any functionality. The midweek holiday didn't help. Yeah. For sure, dude. The midweek holiday really screws a lot of things up. So we could come back over here. So what happened this week was it turns out, it's so surprising to me, but it turns out I've been working at the new job for a year now. Can you believe it? And the way that they do their vacation, like it rolls over when you started, essentially, and they don't roll vacation over. So I had some extra vacation that I had not used that I have to use before my 1 year anniversary. So it basically turned into, oh, I guess I'm taking next week off. We were supposed to go on, well, I think we still are going to Oklahoma later in July. But so I'll have all next week. And in the past few years in the vacations that we've done, I've been studying for like Series 3 and all of that stuff, right? Well, this time, I don't have that. This time I don't have that. And so I will be able to do some reading and a lot of programming, I think. So I was just going to come in here. Actually, let's do it on this page. Oh yeah, here we go. Research week. The avoid news indicator is the number one. It's the number one priority. And then the second priority will be backtesting the cached data. And then a momentum is probably before that. And we'll also be doing some reading. Got like a whole pile of things to read. So, and I'll probably time box it. I'll probably spend a little bit of time. I also will do script writing. Here we are. So I think the next video that I want to do is, are index funds evil? That seems like something that could get some people's attention. But I think I'm just realizing now. So somebody, a new spread video. I think that I have some old style videos on this, but I want to make a new video on this about how to use the yield curve and spreads and that sort of a thing. Then another idea that I had is Using cumulative delta for targets. Because I saw a YouTube video that was doing really well. It was talking about cumulative volume delta. I was like, oh, cumulative volume delta. Are prop firms evil? I don't know what I would be able to provide in the content for a video like that I don't already have a video about. But there's some ideas for videos that I can make right there. These two right here. These two right here, those would be fairly easy videos to make. The chair thing, I'm still kind of working on the chair thing. I've had the chair since October, but I'm still learning things about it. I'm not using it right now. I'm using this other chair, and I actually think I kind of like this other chair. But I'm going to try and get the lumbar support for that one, and yeah. I feel like there's maybe some other there's some other video ideas I'm missing, but I'd like the spread video. Well, I mean, it's gonna be, it's basically going to be a rant that you've heard before, though, Paul, right? About how I set up the spreads, and you know, it's just that information isn't like really out there. It turns out that I'm like the only person that really has it. There is one YouTube video about it, but it's like really old and not very good. So I have a video about it. I'm making a new one. It's specifically about spreads, so that information gets disseminated better. Yeah, it's most likely by half of learning is reading it. Yeah, maybe. So you gotta build those connections, is the thing, right? Spreads used to be such a challenging thing to me, but then, you know, when I kind of got this system set up and I just memorized, you know, up is steep, that was it, and now it's like second nature, right? Because the reality is that it's not really a complicated thing. It's just that every time it's that you don't really ever think about it, and so every time that you need to think about it, you have to go through and start, you know, flipping things around in your head to be like, okay, so what is steeper and what is flatter and what is this and why would this be doing that and all those sorts of things, right? If you've built the neural network, you just do it. Boom. You don't have to think about it. Do you have a video on how the participants arbitrage futures? No, you know, I don't know what I would put on a video for that, but that was the other idea that I had. Describing different art institution. That one would be like, okay, there are index funds, there are risk parity funds, there are these kinds of funds, and here's how they work, right? I think I need to move the camera over a little bit. I'm gonna do that. Okay, that's maybe a little bit better. It's funny that, you know, I'll get to a point and I'll be like, okay, I've done all of the videos. Now I don't need to do any video. But actually, technically, I did do all of the videos, right? Like, the chair is a video that I've been thinking about and working on for a while. But like the content that really mattered to me, that I really wanted to get out there, I think I already did. This one right here is kind of like, this is a video that I think could generate a lot of discussion and could really help the channel out and like boost the channel. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research on like thumbnails and stuff for it, right? These are ones that I feel like I've already taught you or I already have content about, but yeah, I think I can just make better videos that might be able to reach people better or something like that, right? So. Oh, here's my book list. There you go, okay. So yeah, I have plenty of things, and I need to time box it, is what I need to do, is I need to say I'm going to work on this for this much. I also think that I will probably do some work on this dog kennel thing, because I'm worried about that wood warping. I was looking at the plywood, and the plywood was... There was one piece of plywood that was starting to warp, and I'm unhappy about it. But I don't think that I need that whole sheet, so I think so it will be okay. So I think I should work on that. That means that I need to like get them cut down to size this weekend. Research on thumbnails would be good. That makes me think of, for example, why all fast food joints use the same 3 colors. The color is proven to make the human hungry. Yeah, well, I think one of the things that was giving me ideas yesterday, I'll show you here. I tell you what, they're always trying to get me to stream on Twitch again. Maybe I will give in finally. In analytics here, there's a new inspiration tab. Like they always kind of had this, but the inspiration tab I think does it a lot better. And it's like, okay, here's what your audience is searching for. Price action trading strategies. Support and resistance trading strategy. Well, if I made a video about that, it would be that it doesn't really work very well, but I don't know what would be a good way to make a video about that. Like what would be a hook that would get them in and keep them in? Because if I just say, oh, well, it doesn't work, they'll be like, okay, well, then I'm not interested in this, right? But so yeah, it gives some ideas. So like here are videos related to market depth. Apparently TradingView has a new video out about it. Can order flow predict market reversals? Blah, 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 blah. This guy right here, Andre Simi, he's kind of overselling what he's got. Okay, but for order flow trading, what are the top videos in order flow trading? Yeah, not too much. Japanese, Korean, and Hindu results are not available yet. Okay. YouTube SEO. Well, I think the one of the things that irks me is that much less reputable channels will beat us in views on certain things. Am I really that boring? I think that part of my issue lately might be thumbnails though, right? Like if we come to my channel here, we look at the most recent videos. So like this one is great. Stopped working? Wait, what? Maybe it could be funny. Maybe if I said smart money concepts or ICT or something like that, that would trigger more people, right? But, you know, these ones where I'm kind of following the typical YouTube formula, that's great. This one, the truth about momentum strategies. Well, the stats show me that the click-through rate on it is really good, but YouTube isn't really actually showing it. So that one could use a better thumbnail. Now, I took a bunch of pictures a long time ago, and you know, I need more. I need more pictures with a wider array of expressions. So that's what the thing was on my list was, on the YouTube channel, is a thumbnail picture shoot. I thought I heard a kid crying, but it was just one of the dogs outside is going crazy. Namrus, I think showing backtests of common technical setups would be interesting. Well, I did that a long time ago, actually. If you really go down here to some of the earlier videos. Well, so this was the time period 3 years ago where I was like doing the most heavy backtesting, and this video series is really good. But then before that, a lot of the things that I did were like that. Backtesting strategies from Reddit. What's the best moving average? Yeah. Some of these older ones don't get a whole lot of views. It's kind of funny to see this one, the trading computer hardware one, and then the rest of these aren't very good. Popular. But the ones that really mattered. Okay, so like the one that I made at the beginning of the year last year, the Ninja Trader video, that worked really, really well. The order flow trading for beginners, that one's doing really, really well. This Ninja Script Programming Basics, right? Like the ones that I cared about the most did well. We need to get the truth about momentum strategies. We need to get that up. Okay, the child is screaming again. I'll be right back. Ooh, a chat. Are you know, I'm surprised that anybody looks at the screen. I really think most people just put it on in the background. But I decided to bring him up. It looked like he wasn't going back to sleep, so. Why don't you just lean back and go back to sleep, dude? See what he does. Please tell him to buy more puts and don't hedge them. Wait, honest opinion about what? I don't know. That sounds dangerous. Honest opinions. What were we talking about? We're talking about the videos. So some of the most important videos we got. Now I want that momentum video to be an important video. The rest of these videos that we can make, they can just kind of be more, you know, let's build the channel up. What does YouTube actually want, right? Because I think I've given you guys the most important stuff. I don't make very many videos, but I could make them more. I probably need to make more videos. That might be another thing. More videos, better thumbnails. I think thumbnails might be one of the things killing me. Because there's a lot of videos that I'm like, this was really good content. And like, but the algorithm doesn't pick up on it for some reason. But maybe I'm just too boring. Maybe I'm too high level for some people. I don't know. But, you know, go for it. Because that's the thing is like, since I've already provided the content that I think is most important for you guys to have, we can make the videos that you guys just want, you know? You look, well, because I shave. You changed your YouTube name. That's funny. Were you able to, but by the way, D, were you able to figure out your issues yesterday? Because I was very concerned. Very concerned. No, it was something else here on YouTube, though. Not yet. Like, the stuff that you were telling me, it was like, that sounds like you reinstall the whole machine sort of a problem. You were in the midst of a barbecue, I see. You okay? He's sitting there quietly. Should I be concerned for him? Thanks for the alert. Is he mentioning that we got PMIs in 3 minutes? So S&P PMIs aren't as big of a deal, but since it's like all you got today, I think that it's relatively important. Yeah, I shaved with the intention of being like, I need to get, you know, I look too old. But the problem is that too short and it just destroys all the contrast in my face. I also wanted to clean up a little bit because I got a new camera or a new lens yesterday. I've been using the kit lens. And for a long time, I've been like, I need to just go and get a fixed focal length prime lens so that I can get a sharper video. And, you know, I was like, wasn't sure I wanted to, because a really nice G Master lens is like $1,000, right? I'm like, oh, okay, let's save up $1,000 for a G Master lens. But like, then when we got the new desk and the camera got moved further back and to zoom in far enough, it didn't allow me to use a large enough focal length, then I was like, okay, let's use the prime lens, because the prime lens allows me to use a much wider aperture. Like right now, I'm using f3.5, and I think it goes all the way to like 1.8 or something like that. Options seem to think up. Well, they're polling. They're treating it like a tier event. Anyways, if I open the aperture up all the way, it's so much that like parts of my face are sharp and parts aren't, so it's too sharp. So I backed off of it a little bit. But then the problem was when it's too sharp, is I'm like, oh, I don't look, you know, you can see all of the flaws. You can see how oily my skin is and all these sorts of things. So I was like, well, I better clean up the first day. Look good for it. I really like the bouquet on it, though. Ooh, ouch. Wow. Okay, well, so services was 55 spot 1 versus a 54. Manufacturing was 51 spot 7 versus 51. And the composite was 54 spot 6 versus a 53 spot 5. None of the numbers that I get have anything to do with prices. I wonder if there was stuff about prices embedded in there. But that was a much stronger reaction than I thought it was going to be, huh? Well, Uzi there just before it happened saying options seem to think up. Maybe that reaction was because the market was expecting it to be a little bit softened for us to move out, and they were surprised. Because that was a pretty... Even Ethan was like, wait a second, that was a little crazy. The whole board just went red, I bet. Well, so the treasuries just went bleh, but the equity market is fallen too. The dollar is... Wow. Oh, okay, wait. I'm reading it wrong. I need to zoom out a little bit here. It's still a pretty big move up in the dollar. No, you know what, TLA trader? I don't know if good news is bad news. I mean, the knee-jerk reaction here. Yeah. No, good news is bad news. No, you're right. You're right. I thought you said the opposite. I thought you said the opposite of that. It's kind of funny because right now with the S&P 500, good news is bad news, but bad news was bad news too. So like, what you gonna do? You lose both ways. I never pulled up NVIDIA. Should we pull up NVIDIA? I want to see if they've got more losses overnight. I can't tell you how many like feel bad for me threads on Reddit I saw yesterday about NVIDIA. They're like, it's gonna go back up again, right? Oh my gosh, wow, they are opening down. Holy crap. That's a pretty big gap for a stock like NVIDIA. They would normally try and fill that gap, but they are not. So I always wondered why when my kids take stuff off of the bookshelf, why they always take the covers off of them, but now I see why. Because they are holding the cover and the book falls out. What's that? You want to be a supple leopard, huh? Move this over here. Hey, this book, Ethan. Where are you going? Look, Ethan. See, Ethan.
Look, if you do this, your top-down setup, that will get you a better setup. That's for a job search. You don't need that for a couple of years, dude. There, see? Could be supple. It's a good book. I like that. I should read it again. The first parts of it. Read it again. I think that I need a new bookshelf that's like a glass container, right? So that they can't get into anything. Now he's gonna go and grab everything off the bookshelf. Mom should be home any minute now, though, so. Dude, NVIDIA is puking so hard right now. Good grief. Oh, we'll zoom in on that. They're really taking those PMIs hard, aren't they? Yeah, that's the technical analysis of stock trends. We don't need that book. It was fun reading. That's where I started, but I don't think it's that useful. Oh, are you gonna go out there now? Okay, hold on. He thought that I was going to kick him out of the room and is hiding. Oh my gosh. Watching NVIDIA just keep going down is kind of like making me feel sick. Like, I don't have a position in this thing. So I am not like, you know, I have nothing at stake here. But just seeing something so big go down just kind of makes me a little nauseous. I will say that really is a better camera lens because I can see some of those dragons now and the flowers in the glass. Oh, yeah, you can. That's, you know, it's really weird. So like, oh yeah, so what I was going to say, no, Ethan, don't do that. So I was like, a G Master lens is like $1,000, right? And when we had when I started to have the issues, I was like, let's just go buy the cheapest prime lens. So I went and I bought the cheapest prime. It was only like $200. It was only like $200, and it looks great.
because you know, the difference is the sharpness, right? Now, there's more bokeh too. So like the background is actually more blurred than it was before. So that's interesting that you can see the dragons better, but you can see that it is a dragon and stuff, can't you? So that's kind of weird. But definitely when we make the camera big, the biggest thing to me that I notice is that this lens shows my eyes better. You can actually see the color of my eyes with this. Actually, you know what we could do is we could duplicate this. Zoom. Yeah, that is much more genuine to the color of my eyes. I don't have a lot of color in the middle of the eye as I did. It used to be a little bit more of a green blue, but now you can see that it's really is just gray. And you can see all of the blood vessels in my eye. I have very bloodshot eyes. I think I'm gonna leave that zooms because sometimes I wanna. How'd I do with the shaving? Not terrible. Not terrible. Past the duchy, bro? Wait, what? What's that? Why are you grabbing more books? Why is George Orwell on the floor? He said something back. I don't know what he said, but he said something back. This is for real estate. You want to sell real estate? Yeah, like houses. You want to sell houses? This is a story about a bunch of farm animals that kill their farm. Meh. You are in my monitor? What? What was I gonna say? Oh, you know, if you want to have fun with it. Here, like, you want Pop-Tarts? No, you just want to destroy everything in the room. Don't play with that. Background image? Wait, oh, well, I was gonna say, you have to go and eat this in the kitchen. You wanna go? Okay, so that is bokeh as it gets. The ISO that it selects is a little bit light. There, that's better. See, now it's super blurred, right? But when I was looking at it before, I didn't like it because, like, do you see how my eyes are in focus, but my ear is not? My gosh, can you hear him grunting and stuff, pulling those books off? Oh no, he found the radiation detector. Uh-huh. Yeah. I wish you could hear him talking. He's getting to the point now where he's like full on talking, but yeah, I can't understand him. I hope Mom comes home soon because he is just taking everything out. Ethan, the books belong, they belong over there. I want them over there. Uh-huh. Look, see, I'll show you. Right there. That's how much radiation there is. See, there's no radiation right now. And look. So anyways, f1.8. Too blurry. Like, see, my ear is not in focus. So the depth of field is like too low. Interesting. Two. You're still blurry. .5. 2.5 is good. That's like the most blurry that I can get that is still sharp. Then I need to change the ISO again. There we go. Let's keep it there instead of what I had before. Now it's really blurry. But interestingly, you can still tell that that's a dragon, can't you? Yeah. Did you find any radioactive material? Did you find any radioactive material? Okay. He gave me the... Okay, so it looks like NVIDIA has recovered from that super ugly, but it is starting to turn back down again. I don't know if it's over yet. Since we're talking beards and off topic, has anyone else's beard changed colors as they age? Not meaning gray either. No. I don't know. It's weird to me. As I have gotten older, the hair has just turned more gray. It's weird. It is. I am like blonde, and you know, but people say like as you get older, you get like you become dishwater blonde or something like that, right? But as I've gotten older, it just becomes this really dull gray color. Kind of like the color of my shirt. Like the color of my shirt is very close to the color of my hair. And then I start to get like real gray. So like, whereas when I was younger, there was a lot more like reddish hairs in there and stuff. So I don't know if you can see. Nah, I don't think you can really see any of those right now. I was black when I was young, and now my beard has so much orange I can almost pass as turning. Really? That's really weird. Well, there is some. I know, like for instance, redheads, when they age, it just goes straight to white. They don't have the gray face; it just goes straight white. Okay, I am sorry, but I have the kid too, but he has gone off on his own and is doing some weird stuff now. Those treasuries are still, they came back to the lows and pushed a little bit further. I guess, you know, if I had been, I normally wouldn't take a trade on a Friday, would I? But I wonder if I would have taken a trade if I had really been able to be queued in today. I don't know if I would have thought, okay, that obviously wouldn't have caught anything of that initial thing, but then would I have thought, oh, they're almost surely going to go down for more? I don't know about that one, so. All right, I'm going to go. He just left the room, so I'm going to go see where he went. All right, I'm back. Oh, he's mad that I went back into the office. No, go see mom. Go see mom. I really want to finish building this cable way that I want to build down the back so that there aren't cables around there, and then I think that it would be safer for them to play around the desk. And then I guess I would need to replace that with like a glass bookshelf that I can lock. And then the room would be childproof. But I guess if there was nothing for them to be able to touch, then they wouldn't be interested in coming in here anyways. Okay, so let's look at the aftermath here now. Let's try and get keyed in a little bit now that we've offloaded the child. So the spread actually flattened a little bit. So is that flattening like, oh, maybe we won't get rate cuts? I don't know if these PMIs really tell us a whole lot or not about that. I guess we'll find out. We just need to, keep seeing the data come in, and I'm sure that in a month or two we'll have a much clearer idea. But the treasuries are bouncing a little bit, so NVIDIA, it looks like maybe they have found a bottom floor, so good for them, I guess. Let's check out GameStop. GameStop about where it was. Well, I see also here in the treasuries, I think that the seller's cost basis is probably relevant here, and that is at 18.5 at the moment. So, and we have yields right at 4.25. Sent you option walls on bonds via Discord. Let's see here. He's looking at TLT options. I'm not entirely sure what that is graphing, if those are puts or calls or some ratio or something. It looks like the S&P 500 is recovering from that last bit of news too, so. Wonder one thing that I should do is with my camera. What would it be? How different would it be if I did it horizontal? Because I do have. Do I have it over here? Where did that go? Oh, it's up here. I got this cage that allows me to switch it really easily. And if I had the camera in horizontal mode with the 4K, then I could probably like do both, where like I can film TikToks on the desktop and use my microphone, and maybe that would be better. TikToks? I don't know if I would make that many videos with it though. I don't make a whole lot of TikTok content right now. I'm kind of tired of it. No, AO was saying that he was going to give us a video suggestion, but he never did it. That also makes me wonder, do I have everything? I don't know if I really want the mic anymore. This DJI mic. Or like these blankets. Curtains, I think, are pretty high up the list. I'm also not so sure that we need the SSD. We are recording the video still, right? Let's see here. Well, it says that I'm hardly using even 2% of it. It's recording. But wait, is it recording? Yes, it does. It does the camera as well. Well, I wonder if it would let me do the 4K. Because the 4K was where it was like, in order to be able to switch it between and all of that sort of stuff. Although, maybe I don't really need the 4K if I'm just doing it portrait. Oh my goodness, he shaved right. I kind of wish I hadn't have shaved. Yeah. Yeah, kind of wish I hadn't shaved. So I think that means that the SSD can go down the list here. This light is a duplicate entry. I think that if we got another light, it would be like this up here. Oh, that's what I haven't been looking up. Some of these things is like like a shotgun mic and stuff. I don't think would really make any sense unless we're making a lot more videos, right? So what's the biggest expiration ever? Well, and I think that it's largely because of GameStop and the run that we've had in NVIDIA, but the market has more market gamma than ever that expires today, which means, one, you got a huge pullback yesterday going into the expiration, and two, you're probably going to see a really massive unclenching on Monday, and you could see all sorts of wild and crazy things happen today. Oh, okay, let's see here. Oh, we sent you an update on the... Well, I don't really know if there's anything that I can pull from those pictures, D. I don't understand enough about what it's showing me. Oh. Yeah, well, I mean, those are the walls because those are like the most even strike points, right? I don't know if buying Resolve really accomplishes a whole lot, but I do frequently find myself coming into the limitations and being irritated by it, so maybe I should keep it up there. But the UPS, that's the big one. Okay. The UPS is the one that's like, after I get that, then that's like all of the things that I would look at purchasing, and then we're just saving. But I haven't looked for UPSs in a while. I should do that. Check and see if they've got any. Oh, he's got a bunch of... Are they gonna go down? They came back down there to the bottom really quickly, didn't they? But this is this whole thing that I've been complaining about all week, that like this summer market seems to be able to just move 4 ticks all at once for no apparent reason, and it's a little annoying. Sure are flirting with the edge there, aren't they? Trump has gained 21 points among women. Wow. Okay, well, I want to see what Zero Hedge has to say with his PMIs, okay? After this morning's ugly picture across European PMIs, preliminary June US PMIs were also expected to decline modestly, but remain in expansion above 50 for both manufacturing and services. But in the face of puking US hard macro data, the soft survey data surprised to the upside, with manufacturing at 51.7 and services at 26-month highs at 55.1. The U.S. services print is above all analyst estimates. Quite a divergence from the rest of the world. Commenting on the data, Chris Williamson, chief business economist at S&P Global Market Intelligence, said the early PMI data signaled the fastest economic expansion in over 2 years in June, hinting at encouragingly robust end to the quarter, while at the same time, inflation pressures have cooled. The PMI is running at a level broadly consistent with the broad economy growing at an annualized rate of just under 2.5%. The upturn is broad-based as rising demand continues to filter through the economy, although led by the service sector, reflecting strong domestic spending. The expansion is being supported by an ongoing recovery in manufacturing, which so far this year is enjoying its best growth spell for 2 years. This survey also brings welcome news in terms of job gains, with a renewed appetite to hire being driven by improved business optimism about the outlook. Selling price inflation has meanwhile cooled again after ticking higher in May, down to one of the lowest levels seen over the past 4 years. Historical comparisons indicate that the latest decline brings the survey's price gauge into line with the Fed's 2% inflation target. As we detailed earlier, judging by the unexpected freefall across the board miss in Europe's PMIs this morning, the ECB may have cut rates too little too late. The euro area composite flash PMI declined 1.3%. According to Goldman, the deceleration in the composite index was broad-based across sectors, those skewed towards the manufacturing sector, where the output index fell. I'm not going to go through all of the individual country numbers. In response to the ugly PMI prints, European bond yields slumped and also dragged down the euro while pushing the dollar higher. Curiously, despite the virtual assurance of more quantitative easing coming, both gold and crypto also slumped to session lows after the dismal numbers. Expect that to reverse once the selling momentum ignites and algos are exhausted? Well, maybe. That's kind of interesting. Well, I think that crypto would sell because the interest rates went higher, right? But it does kind of look like that crypto was kind of trying to shake the trend. The treasury is still hanging out there at the bottom, but they haven't broken. Newsmax, most retirees say Social Security is inadequate. That's because it's supposed to be inadequate. It's supposed to be like so that you're not out on the street, but it's not supposed to be enough to live comfortably. People. Do you think historical order book on a graph can be useful? I don't think that it's as useful as just watching the DOM itself. Oh, look, they did make new lows there. Cool. And so now we are at 426, 4265. Yeah. Oh, is that not our, that's not our thing, is it? Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of an interesting way of showing it, but all that does is just help you remember what happened in the past based on things that you're already watching with the DOM, right? And the problem is that it's aggregating some information. So some of the most important information for you to see isn't going to be available there because, you know, I think that the important stuff is like it ticks down and then it ticks back up and how much did it take each time, right? So I'm sure it has some use, but I wouldn't stop using the DOM, right? Oh, right. Yeah, because you're having problems with the whole thing. There must be something wrong with your Ninja Trader. I don't know what the deal is. Wait, what are you talking about? I have to visit some of your older streams to see your political... Oh. They haven't been around for the past few days and you want me to go on a political rant? There hasn't been as much to rant about lately, right? I'm sure that Donald Trump will get elected again and then there'll probably be plenty of things to talk about. There is a debate next Thursday though, right? Oh man. There is a debate next Thursday. Judging from the last few little interviews that Joe Biden had, I don't know if the debate's going to go so well for him, but maybe he can pull it off. Actually, Joe Biden getting through a debate unscathed is probably the best thing that could possibly happen to him right now, because the biggest thing dodging his campaign is concerns that he's simply not physically fit enough to be president right now. And if he can get through the debate, then that would kind of assuage some of those concerns. What do you think about them changing the auto selective service and adding women to the draft? So, yeah, I don't know why they insisted on adding women to the draft, but whatever. And I don't completely understand the nature of the changes, because they're like, oh, they're reinstituting the draft, and I'm like, the draft was always there. I remember having to register for the draft and stuff like that. But I think the key thing that we can pick up from this is that the Ukraine war has kind of shown to people the way that modern warfare could be if there was actual, like, outright war between large competing powers like the United States and Russia. And I think that some people thought that, you know, those large scale conflicts sort of a thing were something of the past, but the Ukraine war has really shown otherwise. The death toll in the Ukraine war is really something quite astounding, and it's a little bit unnerving to me, because what their conclusion that they're basically coming to is that if there was a large scale conflict, they just need bodies. Like, they don't even care. Well, at least Russia doesn't care like how well trained you are or anything like that. They just need bodies. And this moving into the reinstituting the draft and everything kind of suggests that strategy makers in the US are starting to see that same thing. That, like, if there was a large scale conflict, we would need to be able to build up a really, really large force really, really quickly, and that we wouldn't care so much about how skilled that force would be, that we just need bodies. This is a little scary. I don't think that, I hope that such a conflict doesn't happen. I don't think that it's likely to happen. But they're thinking about them. So... I am a little bit concerned about if the U.S. got mired in a large conflict, like a conflict in Europe with Russia. Because, like, for instance, Joe Biden, they spent apparently $1 billion just in ammunition alone, with the whole Houthis thing in the Red Sea, and that hasn't done jack squat. Like, it's been a completely ineffective program. And I'm kind of starting to question the US's military's ability to get things done now still. Seems like over the last 10 or 20 years that their readiness has dropped significantly. the U.S. would lose. You saw North Korea and Russia have an alliance. Well, I think that in such a conflict, like who wins and loses is probably a little bit more complicated than that. Like, look, nobody's going to invade the United States and impose significant, right? But, you know, certain strategic objectives might not be achieved. Some conflicts will just, like, continue to go on and fester, right? Like, that's kind of more the concern. I mean, it's just like what's going on in Ukraine. Like, is Ukraine or Russia losing? Well, I don't think that either of them are really winning. Like, Russia has had a very, had to scale back their objectives and lost mass amounts of people and has really done very significant long-term damage to the health of their economy and their nation. And Ukraine has just been absolutely decimated by the war. So really, like, both lost. And both lost major strategic objectives that they wanted. And if there was such a war, I think that I would be worried about it becoming like a Vietnam sort of a thing, where it's just kind of this long-term conflict that keeps going on forever and ever and ever, except for like a lot more people dying. These treasuries are looking pretty weak this morning. I mean, like, seeing the dips that we've had this late in the session shows that they're pretty heavy, although the changing cumulative deltas are not that strong, so. Well, I do know a lot about his geopolitical conflicts and so forth. Like, I know enough to say that, like, these people that are saying if there was a war between Russia and the United States, that the United States would lose is an absolutely ridiculous thing to say. But the problem is that in such a conflict, what is winning and losing, it probably wouldn't be like World War II, right? It probably wouldn't be like World War II, where one country or the other gets completely invaded and taken all the way back to the capital and the leader kills themselves. And, that is like complete, total victory sort of a thing. It wouldn't be like that. It would be like an ongoing conflict where both sides are trying to save face and achieve certain strategic objectives and so forth, right? And it is relevant to our trading. I mean, you see the start of the Ukraine war, and that was very relevant to our trading, right? Oh, man. I still look back on that, and I was so shocked when it happened. I was like, is this really happening? Is this just a big joke? You guys playing a prank on me? It just seemed so unreal. That's why your videos don't grow. You're too arrogant. Fine. Listen, if I have to pretend to be wrong about things to become more popular, then who cares? Right. Like there's some things that's like, well, there's some people think this and some people think this, and there's all these different kinds of things, and here's what we really know, and here's what I kind of think, but we don't really know for sure. And I kind of might give you the etymology of that discussion and not really take like a strict position, okay? But when it comes to the military superiority of the United States and NATO over Russia is just like it's not even close. Russia spends a significant amount of time and effort spreading propaganda out there on the internet to try and convince people that Russia is all big and scary and that we need to be concerned about them, but it's not. Like, if there was an outright conflict between the United States and Russia, Russia would just like full on war, but like no nuclear weapons involved. Russia would get absolutely destroyed, okay? But it wouldn't be a good thing for either side. Would still be a pretty bum deal for both sides. You don't really want that to happen. I don't know if anybody can really say that they truly win in a conflict like that. Like that in a conflict like that, there would be lots of casualties. It would be a high casualty. It would be, a high casualty war, not unlike the Civil War. That's I think the lens that you have to think about it in right now. The Civil War was a war where new technology had entered the battlefield, and it completely upended hundreds of years worth of what we knew about warfare, and the generals and so forth didn't adjust to it very quickly, right? And so you continued to have charges and all of these sorts of things, and because of that, there was a very, very significant casualties. There's more people died in the Civil War in the United States than Americans have died in like all of the other wars that we've been in combined, right? And what you're seeing in Ukraine is a similar sort of a thing, where because of automation and the weapons that we have and everything, it's kind of turned into like mass shooting artillery across at each other all day and really digging trenches in again. And so you kind of have a war that's a little bit more like a World War I or a Civil War I kind of combined. It's high casualty. So it's a concern if there was a war. I think that both sides would have big losses. Okay, but Russia would certainly take the brunt of it, right? Like the US would still come out on top, right? But the issue is that for us in the United States, for us to accomplish the things that we want, right, it's going to kind of be more down to like certain strategic objectives and things like that. And it seems to me like the US military is just not sharp enough to accomplish a lot of those things now. So it would kind of just be sucky both ways, right? Now, the thing with the Houthis, this is like, well, all they're doing is they're just putting warships in there and then letting the Houthis fire at them, right? Like, to really do anything about the Houthis, you would probably need to put boots on the ground, and they're not going to do that. So the issue there is really a entire strategic blunder. Like, they weren't really able to get the European countries to band together on this sort of a thing and really get a good task force together that could effectively accomplish the goal, and their strategy around it and everything was dumb. Like, we remember when this happened that all of the articles were saying this, essentially. So also wouldn't say that we lost in Afghanistan. That was just, we just decided to leave, you know? That's a different issue, and I'm not even sure if I would say that's a military issue, but maybe you could consider it a military issue. But the West has just not been very good at rebuilding countries. Like we were great with World War II, right? But that was European countries that kind of had similar culture and values to us. When we're going into places like Afghanistan, Iraq, etc., 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 right? It's just been, they've failed at that part over and over again. Like the military, they do okay, like they accomplish the job, and then it just kind of becomes this insurgency sort of a thing for years and years and years. And, you know, eventually they get sick of it, and eventually somebody pulls out. Where would the war take? In Poland. I think that if a war were to break out between the United States and Russia, that it would be like in Poland and those Middle East, those Eastern European countries. Maybe Ukraine. There is still a minority scenario here where the West suddenly decides to get more directly involved in Ukraine. Macron has certainly been like saber rattling over that, right? But it doesn't sound like he's going to be in power for much longer, so. It's so funny that, you know, like, this is where I'm usually at. It's just that I let my beard get so long before that it's such a drastic change. And I think that the lens changes probably doesn't help either. Maybe the war can take place in the 51st state. I saw this thing the other day that was like, who would win if there was a war between Mormons and the Amish? Well, Mormons have no problem using technology, so technical superiority. Then these people were saying, yeah, but everybody loves the Amish and they would probably protect and defend them, right? But I think that really what it would come down to is like, where's the battlefield? Right? Because the Amish aren't going to cross the Rockies and invade Utah. That's ridiculous. They would never survive. They'd be sitting ducks up there. Right? But like an insurgency war of attrition in you know, Pennsylvania, that probably wouldn't go very good for the Mormons, right? So depends on where the battlefield is, right? But if it was in the middle ground, if it was like just in Colorado and Kansas area, you know, like in between, and both sides were having to come, I think that the Mormons would absolutely destroy them with logistics and technologies. Just saying. Mormons are pretty good with logistics, guys. The LDS Church is pretty good with logistics. They're some of the best in the world with logistics, actually. Ugh. I don't really think that any kind of like super major conflict is going to break out like that. Like on one hand, like what has happened in Ukraine really does not look good for the future of warfare. But I also think that what has happened in Ukraine really suggests to me that like you have to be crazy and or stupid to really want to start an all-out open conflict of that sort. And that like only Putin would be brazen and dumb enough to go and make the kind of blunder that he does in Ukraine. Like they may take territory away from Ukraine and all of that, but they have done so much harm to their country. I don't think that any other leaders, like one of the things that I saw, oh man, this was such a weird story today. Okay. It was earlier this week. I saw a story that basically, when she was like at a conference last week or whatever in Europe, and the diplomats and everything that he was talking to, he was basically telling him that the US is trying to goad China into attacking Taiwan, and that we're not that dumb and that we're not going to do it. Right? And so the US intelligence was using this as evidence that, hey, seems to have created a bubble around himself. Because, and I think it's true, because like really, nobody in the West wants Xi to invade Taiwan, right? Like that would just be like crazy and really bad for everybody involved. We've been doing everything that we can to dissuade them from doing anything with that. And there's constant panic over in US media about what China is doing where they might go and invade it. So for Xi to say, well, they're goading us into doing it, I think is really kind of funny, right? But that just kind of goes to show, okay, so when they invaded Ukraine, what did everybody say? They said, well, they only did this because we pulled out of Afghanistan. It showed weakness, and now that we've shown weakness, China will invade Taiwan too, right? But what the Chinese are really saying is like, even we aren't that stupid, right? So even though the future of warfare looks very, very bleak, it also looks to me like world leaders understand that and have all kind of realized that it would be really, really stupid to start a open arm conflict of that sort. So it probably won't happen. Okay, guys, I gotta get going. Next week should be an interesting week, so I have lots of time to do things. So I will see you guys then. In the meantime, stay excellent.